Join me today in the time machine so we can take a look at one of the weirdest looking things that ever came out of World War II. Ah, yes. The Northeast Sten. When Paul Revere dropped the hardest line of his century, the British are coming, I don't think he had any idea that nearly 170 years later they would be mass producing one of the funkiest looking firearms we've ever seen. And since I'm not good at history and instead just an airsoft nerd. Oh, and with all the variants they offer, Northeast did drop nearly 4 million in mass production. A quick introduction to Northeast Airsoft, who has been absolutely on the ball here with all their recent releases, such as the Uzi and their most recent, the FAMAS. They've released a few different versions of the Northeast Sten, but I wound up picking this one up aftermarket because they're a little harder to come by now. And I'm happy to say, externally it sported minimal wear, especially being that the entire external of this build is made of steel. 100% steel. There's nothing you can see on here that isn't made of steel. What we're doing today is not trying to figure out if this is going to be the next best option for your upcoming LARP game, because if you're in a World War II event, yes it is. There's absolutely no other option. This is the one. But instead what we want to see is if it will perform well during that LARP game and will it last. And besides the main things we look for, like consistency, accuracy, and well-made construction, there's just a few things that come to mind that I'll be keeping an eye out for. One of the main problems I'm looking for is the liquid propane spillover from the gas mags. When you fill your gas mags with propane, the liquid fills up at the bottom and the gas fills up at the top. And as that gas builds up pressure, it spews out the router into the nozzle and fires your BBs. But when you turn mags on their side, the liquid propane will then sit at the lower portion of the mag and start to spew inevitably outside of the router, and that could cause inconsistencies, and it could cause liquid propane to get in your buckings, in your barrels, and freeze quicker, and that won't mean it's going to break, it just means that accuracy is going to be no. So I guess we want to see if Northeast was able to figure out a solution for this, and we'll look at that a little later. Now, do I expect HPA or sniper consistency? No, but the Sten, if you don't know, is an open bolt replica, and all that means is that the bolt stays open, and then when you release the trigger, the bolt flies forward, dropping the hammer, hitting the gas release, knocking the gas release valve on the back of the mag, and expelling gas out of your replica to fire the BB. What that means is, unlike a closed bolt replica, there are much larger moving parts that we have to rely on consistently in order to deliver the same FPS and power every single shot. And if there are any issues, can we upgrade them, like the bucking, the barrel, and all that fun nonsense? So you want to know how to work the Sten? Let me show you. Now, first things first, this is the Mark II, and depending on what model you have, your stamp will be a little bit different. I picked this one up because it was the most uncomfortable, and I like to keep things rough and rugged, and definitely not because it was the only one available on the aftermarket. If you wonder what I'm doing rubbing a tent post, well, this is the stock. It's made of this giant rod of steel and this small section to put your shoulder on, and it's comfortable. Okay, anyways, don't quote me on this. I think the two holes in it are specifically either for sling loops or to keep the weight down. And you can see these massive chunky weld marks, which are actually standard on the real thing too. And these are just quick welds to get it connected and keep it connected and not to look pretty. Remember, these are designed to look mass-produced, and I think Northeast modeled this perfectly. You can also see the butt plate is slightly curved, like it's almost got like a bend to it, and I imagine that has to do with when they weld them together. I don't know if this is real to the real thing as well, but just interesting and not a problem. Still one of the most funky looking grips that you'll ever see. This is where you're going to hold the Sten. I don't even know if I'd call this a grip, and it almost feels like I'm gripping the backside of a knife. And another cutout, again, I don't know if that's for a sling mount or if that's just to keep the weight down. And this guy is welded up to the plate that keeps the bolt from flying out of the replica, which is kind of cool. I'll explain that as we take it down later. One giant boxy trigger guard that's welded to the lower frame, and then the trigger, again, made of steel, and It's just like a standard trigger. We'll check out the trigger response. So there's a lot of wiggle room there. It's very loose. And then a firm wall that almost feels like a really heavy rubber band. When the bolt drops forward, it almost forces your finger backwards to begin with, so you're not going to notice much of it over travel. And then we'll throw this guy in a semi, and we'll see what kind of reset we have. Very loose, no noticeable like pullback yet. It almost just kind of slips into place and clicks. Like there's no, like, you don't really notice when it resets. Yeah. It's a Sten, right? We're not looking for a AR trigger. Which leads us to the fun mode switch. We have an R and an A on the opposing side. It's repetition and automatic. It's one of the nicest clicks into place that I've ever felt. Oh, that sounds so nice. The bolt is beautiful. It's got this giant charging handle that you pull back. And again, that pullback isn't exactly the heaviest thing in the world. And you can lock it back by twisting it up and pushing it forward. Don't HK slap, you have to pull it back and rotate it back down. And you'll notice it stays in that open bolt position. Just pulling the trigger is going to release it forwards. Again, lock it back, set it, and fire. The right side of the replica, you can see that giant open cavity. This is where your shells would eject if you had a real steel. This is obviously the airsoft variant, so you won't see that. And something really funky, if you can see on the inside there, is the hop-up unit. And instead of the feed ramp being at the base, it's on the left side because your mag well is on the left side, which is one of the weirdest things about the Sten. Mag well can be rotated out of place and put in a comfortable position for storage. We'll check that out later. Here's your mag release. A little bit sticky, and there's not a whole lot of movement there. When we do put the mag in, it locks in place nice and solid, and we'll check out the wiggle. Very little front and back, almost none up and down, and then in and out, that's tight. And another thing, it's very hard to get these out. Might want to put a little bit of like lubricant on just the sides of these. Make sure you don't get in the router though. Which brings me to my next statement. I believe, after speaking to some of the guys in the heavy recoil Discord, that if the mag well is tight on the mag, it's one of these signs that this is a version 2 and not a version 1, which inherently had very loose mags. Front is the heat shield and a giant barrel with absolutely no threading, so no, you can't attach anything unless you use like a grub screw and a tensioner. And dare I even show you the irons that are welded onto the back plate, and then the big pyramid triangle up on the front. And they are just as rugged and as aggressive as they can possibly be. The magazine is one giant hunk of steel. It's got a base plate and the small little fill valve on the bottom. Your gas router up at the top, which is curved slightly upwards. Your release valve, which is blocked by this plate right now. And then your feed lips, which are one chunk of plastic that wrap around the router as well. And they are pried up a little bit. There's not a whole lot of movement up and down with that, so I don't know why that is. Hope that's okay. And the plastic feels pretty firm, so I don't think they're going to want to like breaking that anytime soon. Now, I don't want to take this thing down totally yet. I want to save that for the end of the video, but I do want to show you how to adjust your hop up, and we have to partially take it down to do so. It is not easy by any means. We have to take this little clip that connects the mag well to the receiver and pull it out just a little bit. Then you can loosen your heat shroud. And we do have to partially take the barrel out as well. If you pull the barrel out, you can see just below is your hop-up dial. And the hop-up dial does not click in place. Actually, it kind of just stays like friction fit. Again, put it back in. And every time you want to do this, you got to do the same cycle over and over and over again. Cranking out the T238 speed loader, and we'll just make sure that this works with the speed loader. It does, no problem. And I just spilled out an extra 2. It does only take 32 BBs inside of the mag, which is true to their real steel counterparts as well. And I guess since while we're here, if you haven't picked up a StupidAirsoft patch, maybe consider supporting the channel. Every single one of the proceeds goes right back into Airsoft, and that just means more content for you guys. For this entire video, every single one of the BBs used are .3s, and I'll also be firing with a can of Coleman propane and a Jaeger Precision adapter. Mag, we're just gonna pop this guy in the base, push it on down, and where a 7 to 10 second gas fill is probably ideal, I'm actually going to fill this thing until I can't hear any noise anymore because I want to push it to the absolute brim. Now we're going to start this guy in semi to test out our gas efficiency and lock the bolt back. Do not put the mag in with the bolt forward. It pushes the nozzle against the feed lips and you could damage the nozzle. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but with a lot of open bolt replicas, that can cause problems. I will say it was extremely stiff at first, but now that I've put the mag in a few times, it's gotten a little bit better. It's still pretty tight. And make sure you release the bolt and you're ready to fire. Here we go in 3, 2. Ah, stupid airsoft! Why are you holding it from there? Hold it from the mag, you look like a loser. I'm glad you said something. History lesson, because a ton of people have mentioned to me so far that I should hold it from the mag. While that's popular in pop culture and movies and video games and stuff, that is not the case on both the real steel variant and the Airsoft variant. That can actually damage the feed lips and put uneven amounts of pressure on the mag release, therefore causing breakages and problems much earlier on. For Airsoft, it's even more crucial because those feed lips ride past the nozzle, and the nozzle goes into the feed lips, and if it's misaligned at all, you could damage the nozzle, you could damage the feed lips, and the gas router needs to make an even connection to the lower portion of the nozzle. And if it doesn't make that even connection, you can get gas spillover, gas consistency issues, increased freeze time. It's just a bad idea. Do not hold it from the mag. Even the creator of the Sten says that is not how it's designed to be used. So stop saying that. Okay, let's see what kind of gas efficiency we get. We're going to try and get the maximum amount of BBs out of a single gas fill on a single mag as possible on semi to start in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, okay, so the recoil there, obviously with it being open bolt and there's no actual like explosion going on inside because it's Airsoft, all of the weight jolts forward and then back really quickly. There's not much pushing into your shoulder. Feels quick, it feels snappy. The trigger is an extremely long pull, but you almost expect that with something that's designed as like a cheap build, even though the Sten is not cheap from Northeast. Feeding every single BB as expected. That one, oh, we're out of BBs, but the bolt didn't stop. We interrupt this program with breaking news. There is no stop on empty function straight out of the box. You actually have to modify the mag to do that, and I will complain about this more than once in the video. The manufacturer did not design this in, so please ignore my whining. Just kidding, snack break, Poppy, sponsor me, but like only with the root beer ones. I don't really want any of the other ones. Yes sir, another full mag, and I'm all filled up. Here we go. Still kicking nice and hard. I don't notice any slowdown yet. Yeah, with how long that trigger pull is, it's actually pretty difficult to get that thing to like rapid fire shots. And again, same thing with the no bolt stop. It's kind of weird. Third mag, let's run it. Oh, that one stopped. Let's go. Okay, so it seems like if I'm firing quick, it wants to stop, but if I'm not and I'm like slowly letting it reciprocate, it doesn't stop. And I don't really know the reason for that yet. Maybe after we take it down, that'll explain things. Let's pop the mag out and go for another one. Oh. There's BBs in there. Okay. Is it out of gas? No. Why did it stop? Okay. Are we out of BBs now? No. Still got BBs in there. Now we're out of BBs. And that time it didn't stop. Mag number 4. Here we go. Oh, that was it. The last 2 shots on a low gas fill. So we got 3 full mags in like a shot, really. Is your field going to allow it? No. Is someone going to ask during the safety brief? Definitely. Let's put it in fun mode and do the same exact thing on a brand new gas fill and a full mag. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Obviously, we won't break it. That would be a real shame if I ran into an enemy. 3, 2, 1. A little jittery. We did empty the mag though. It didn't stop. I guess we'll fill it again. Again, I overfilled that mag and it's a little cool, so you can imagine that's why that overgas fill happened. I think during the second mag is when we'll start to see it function a little bit better. Pretty well locked in place. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. That time it stopped, but there are BBs in there. But it didn't feed one. There's not one in the hop chamber. Interesting. Let's finish it off. There we go. No, still it's having that same problem. There we go. Mag is empty. Little problem on the second mag where it didn't want to finish the full mag. We'll just fill it another time with BBs. I feel like I really got to choke up on the neck of this thing to get this mag in. It's getting a little bit easier over time. I guess, you know, we're wearing down the parts. Is that it? I imagine that's it. I don't particularly want to double feed. That was it. There we go. Yep. Okay, so we didn't clear that mag fully. We got through 2 mags. It's not awful, actually. Is it gas efficient? Decently. I would say, you know, 3 solid mags for sure out of semi. And fun mode, we wound up cranking through 2. The chronograph set up at 0.3 gram BBs, and I'll read them as they come. In 3, 2, 1. 112 FPS at 0.17 joules. That's low. 265 FPS at 0.98 joules. 56 FPS at 0.04 joules, because we're reading the gas. 161 FPS at 0.36 joules. 281 FPS at 1.1 joules. 279 FPS at 1.09 joules. Holy, 279 FPS at 1.09 joules. I hit the inside there. 280 at 1.1 joules. 279 at 1.09 joules. 274 at 1.05 joules. 124, huge drop at 0.22 joules. 124 at 0.22. I think we're out of BBs. That's crazy. We're all over the place. Here's my thoughts on the matter, right? We had a huge, like a really solid grouping between 7 and 10. We had some crazy drop-offs here, though. And that's not from me hitting the inside, I don't think. I think those drop-offs are either A, an excessive amount of gas spilling out of the valve and just the chronograph catching that, or BB slip, I don't know. The hop-up is set, and we're going to test that out in just a second. You'll see the hop-up is set when we go do some accuracy testing. But like generally speaking, most of your shots are consistent at like to the high 270s to low 280s. But there's a couple weird stragglers in there, and I can't explain that. This is my body size target, and these are my size 12 shoes, and we're going to pace ourselves out here. From where I'm standing now, and right at the tip of my muzzle is actually a torso size target painted in purple. And again, 70 feet away, we're going to test out the accuracy of the Northeast Sten. I have us pretty zoomed in for this so you can see the flight path of the BB in 3, 2, 1. That flew sky high. Contact. Drop. Little low. Drop. Little low. Sky high. Contact. Little high and right. It's over the head. Some of these are skyrocketing. Off to the left. Little high. To the right. Little high. To the right. That was to the left. Right. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, it is all over. Here's the thing, it's 70 feet. I just don't know if that's gonna cut it. It's all over the place. So let's cut it by like 20 feet. Go, let's run it again. A little bit shorter of a distance. I think this will fare just a tad bit better. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, and again, just not stopping on empty, but at like the 20-foot less mark, 50 feet total, it's pretty solid. All right, sure, it's not accurate at all, but can it blink? Oh, geez. Oh, we're gassing out. All right, relax. Be right of us to blame the Sten there. I have ran this gas mag on a new gas fill every minute, every video or clip that you've seen without a break, and it's just had no time to cool down. So honestly, if anything, like cooldown wise and gas capacity wise, that speaks for the Sten. Don't let it fool you. That isn't its fault, it's mine. Field stripping the Sten is extremely simple. All you're going to have to do is first we'll fold off the mag well, and this is what I said before, you can actually fold it off to store it easily. You're going to pull this tab upwards pretty aggressively, and then you can rotate it down so it sits flat, and then you can store it inside of a pouch, inside of a case, inside of a bag, you name it. And you can also take that apart actually by removing this little pin here. If you push the pin through the other way, then all of these components will come off, but they're a pain in the butt to reinstall. I don't recommend doing that. Now what we're going to do is take down the stock. We'll press this button in, drop the stock off. It comes down like that. And just keep in mind that when you do pop this off, never fire it like this. This takes some of the recoil. If you do fire it without the stock on there, it's actually going to blow the housing out the back. So don't do that. Even though it's steel, it's strong. Just don't do that. We'll go ahead and push this button in and twist to the left. You can see those prongs that it folds into place. Your spring. We're going to pull our bolt back now. As we get it to about this position, we should be able to go ahead and just wiggle the bolt on out. And then the bolt should drop out the back if we pull the trigger. There it goes. And there's your bolt and your nozzle. Now to get to the barrel and the hop-up unit, all we're going to have to do is twist the heat guard to the left. Never over-tighten it. It becomes really hard to untighten. I may even throw an O-ring on here, like a really thin one, just to make it even easier down the road in case I ever did. And then your outer barrel and your hop-up unit come out. And that is your not fully disassembled, but fully field stripped Sten. Now just for proof, we've got a trusty magnet and all of our beautiful Sten parts. We'll take a look at the stock. It's just one giant chunk of steel. As we get into the larger piece, the body, you can see every single part of this guy. The lower, the upper, the mag well, the buttons, the pins, the takedowns, the sights, the trigger guard, the selector, the rear sights. Dude, it's literally just, it's all steel. So cool. Your charging handle, also steel, at its top and at its base. The shroud, steel. The mag, steel, steel, steel. The plastic, obviously, feed lips. The outer barrel, steel. However, the hop-up unit, I believe, is some sort of an aluminum. Yeah, you could see the metal peeking out there. I don't know if you see those parts. It's got to be some sort of aluminum, if that. The spring, obviously going to be steel. The bolt carrier is very, very light, actually. It's aluminum with some steel support rings. and some more steel grooves. Okay, so it looks like maybe this is plastic actually. And then it's got all the parts that make contact with the inside of the housing or the inside of the receiver are going to be steel. Oh, this guy's heavy. It's got some weight to her. Just steel, steel, steel. And then, so we got a little rubber buffer in the back. Now, as for the nozzle, you can see it is one giant nozzle that's actually split into two pieces, the front and the rear. And it's driven off of a single spring in the base with an O-ring to help increase the seal of gas. The feed arm or whatever that grabs the BB out of the mag is much thicker and much larger and much more firm than one would have expected, which is good to see, especially being the fact that this is one of those replicas that the mag does kind of tilt downwards a little bit, or at least it will as it starts to loosen up and wear in. So you want to make sure that this guy is nice and strong. It's not going to break and crack. Lastly, I do just want to show you the hop-up unit because it's really funky, especially being the fact that this thing loads from the side. So instead of loading where this would be the lower side of the hop-up unit, it's going to load from the side. This is where your feed lips come in, and this is where the nozzle ejects the BBs. They feed this direction. Does that make sense? To get into it, all we're going to do is remove this grub screw on the back. Let's go ahead and loosen it. Pull that out and don't lose it. And just like that, your hop-up inner barrel should pop out of the outer barrel, and then also your dial. Actually, the dial is solidified using an O-ring that helps increase the smooth, consistent adjustment, but also help keep it in place. And then here is your hop-up unit. I don't actually have to take this down any further for you. It is just a clamshell design, so you can remove both these screws and then it pops apart. And here's your hop arm. And the way that this works is it actually slits in a groove on this hop-up dial on the back, and it'll slowly start to pry the hop-up arm up and apply tension to the hop-up bucking downwards. Again, just for the example, I don't know if you could see it, it sits on that little groove here. And as we slowly apply tension to it, that arm will pry upwards, forcing downwards tension on the hop-up rubber. See that? Now, I guess we're just trying to figure out how this all goes back together. Oh, cool. That was pretty easy. Now, really interesting, I want to take a look at the mag and see if there's any revolutionary design here, or if it in fact is just a standard mag that is causing propane to spill out of the router because it's held sideways. And I'm pretty sure we just have to punch off the plate. It's not like a pin system that a lot of mags have, so we just have to find like a way to get the punch to sit on the plate. There's really not much area to do this, but I guess that's what happens when you have a fully enclosed system. There you go. Yep, the plate just pops off. And then at the base, again, obviously make sure there's no gas in here. Here's your router, and here is the takedown screw, if I'm not mistaken. If we pull this huge screw out, we should be able to get inside the gas reservoir. Looks like it's a pretty large one. So we'll pop that out. Unscrew it. It should be under O-ring tension as well. It's pretty tight. I think it's a long screw if I remember seeing photos. There you can see that massive screw. Doesn't want to come out all the way. I don't even think we have to. We should be able to now pull out the insides of the mag. So if we look at the inside of the mag, I don't see anything that would signify, I guess in this portion of the reservoir, that the liquid propane is separate from the gas propane. You could see, kind of like the Tokyo Maruis, it's got that really long tube that keeps the liquid propane at the base and away from the fill valve section. Now, I would imagine, if anything, maybe you'd find something up inside of the feed lip area. Like, again, there's these two expulsion areas that are... Oh, there goes the follower, the pin. But there's these two cutouts in front and behind the router, and I don't know if that's to help with some sort of gas venting or whatnot. I can't really tell. It doesn't seem to do a whole lot when firing, but I wonder if there is a system here that maybe if it wasn't involved, it would be even worse. So another really cool feature before we wrap things up, you see the follower. The follower is actually made of metal, and there's a small pin in the lower hole of the follower. And before I mentioned there was no stop on empty and they complained about it a couple times, not knowing so. If you move this pin to the top, this is actually a manufacturer feature. This will allow the replica to stop on empty, but they don't recommend doing that. I think it puts extra wear on the nozzle. So we're going to keep it in the lower place. But it's cool they include that, I guess, if you want to use this for like film or movie purposes. I think I figured it out. Okay, so this little piece sits on the upper portion of the mag like this. And it's weird because it's got like this proprietary O-ring. But what I think happens is it allows the liquid propane to sit inside the reservoir, but keeps the expulsion area up and in the middle, like almost elevated inside of the reservoir, so that the gas can go through these slits and then out the router instead of spilling too much liquid propane out. I figured that out while putting it together. I would love to wrap things up here, and there's just a couple things that I want to say. First of all, construction-wise, this thing is absolutely beautiful. It feels great in the hands. The kick is awesome, and it's just, it's Sten. It screams Sten. I think Northeast did a wonderful job delivering a real steel experience in an airsoft package. The gas efficiency was actually pretty solid, and something that I do want to address as well after taking a look at the mags, it is pretty clear to me that in order to keep the gas spillover from happening and allowing the propane, liquid, and gas to stay separated like the mags are designed to do, a lower gas fill is probably ideal, and it will also help increase the accuracy a little as well. It's not going to increase it 100% because obviously this is just a really funky replica and goes almost completely against the laws of physics of gas blowbacks, but definitely recommend like a 7 to 10 second gas fill. Don't max it out like I did during the test. But do I think this is a viable option for you? Well, they're not the cheapest thing in the world, and they're a little harder to come by now. However, I think they did a beautiful job with this, and it would be a blast to run in like a World War II event. If you're looking for a model strictly based off of function and performance, no, the Sten's not going to be the specific direction that you want to go. But if you're looking for something World War II GBB, I don't think you should go anywhere else. Remember, the takedown is similar to the real steel. The feel is awesome. And it is gas blowback spec, so if you want to see me try and throw a different barrel and bucking in here and see if we could change the accuracy at all, maybe something that's a little bit more cold resistant would be a good idea, a little bit firmer and a more structurally sound barrel might actually make this thing viable at longer ranges, because in all honesty, anything past like 50 feet it's very unlikely you're going to hit anything. Now, if you think I missed anything and want to share some information on this platform that maybe I missed, please go ahead and let me know in the comments section below. I always love your feedback, and until next time, catch you in the next adventure. Peace.